question, Jamie Plunkett.
Thank you. This question is for the Big 12 coaches on the call, Coach Thompson, Coach Hughes, and Coach Sarlos. Last year, we saw four SEC and four ACC teams in the College World Series, and there's always this kind of continuous debate across college athletics about which conference is the strongest in any particular sport. I would love to hear y'all's perspective on the current state of the Big 12 and the things that the Big 12 is doing to keep up in baseball and things that it could be doing more of.
Well, I think first and foremost, the investment in programs. I think you see it. I think Pete had some stuff done to his ballpark in the last couple of years. I know Mitch has some plans in terms of doing stuff to Baylor Ballpark. So, ultimately, you got to get what you put in, and with the investment in college athletics and college baseball around the country, it's definitely something that you have to look at in terms of kids obviously go to places that feel like they're going to get an opportunity to play at the highest level, and they want to be at places that invest in baseball and have high expectations. And I think when you have high expectations, you also have good investment in the program. So for us, it's about our conference. It's about now that we have more teams in our conference, it's about getting more teams into postseason play. Because I think once you get into postseason play, it obviously comes down to who's playing the best, at that particular weekend. So we just got to get more teams in, and to do that, we got to play better baseball.
Hey,
Coach, yep.
I'll add to that. I agree wholeheartedly. I think our conference is really good conference. I think top to bottom, it's ultra competitive. It continues to be that way, just like any other power conference in the country. We just added Arizona State, and Utah, so our conference isn't going backwards. It's just continuing to grow forwards. And I think that, like Kirk said, there are things that are happening in our league at almost every program where we're taking steps forward and continuing to grow it. And it's just part of it. I think last year we had some great things happen in the league, and I think that there's going to be great things happen this year. So, all these opportunities to play other people from around the country are just continuing to build the brand. And for our sports, for our baseball, and really it's baseball and softball at every school in the country that carry that school's logo and that school's brand throughout the entire spring and into the summer. And so for all the schools in our league, I know that baseball is important, and we're continuing to try and all fight and make it more and more important every day. So none of us are ever happy, for sure. We're always wanting more.
I think those guys said it all. I think our league's getting better with expansion. It opens up more recruiting markets, and when that's the case, then you can attract more talent to your school. And our facilities keep building, like Kirk said, and it's not like we're fighting for credibility, but really the only way to do that is to get more teams in the postseason and get more teams to Omaha. So and tournaments like this will help us do that. It certainly is a resume builder for us. That's the way we're approaching it. And they don't ask you when you have those quality wins. Weekend 1, 2, or the last weekend. It's just a quality win's a quality win. It just happens to have some opportunity for us to be in a great tournament, second weekend out of the year, kick off the college season, and against some tradition-rich programs. And looking forward to it and representing the Big 12.
Andrew Hutchinson next.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Jared with Rev, if that's all right. I'm curious if you could give some insight on like the timing of when these teams were announced, because I'm specifically curious if it's a coincidence that Arkansas is playing TCU and Kansas State, two of the teams that knocked them out of their home regional last couple of years. And do you look for making matchups like that are intriguing storylines like that?
I mean, we certainly want intriguing matchups, but no, candidly, a lot of these are booked years in advance. So it's just a coincidence when it comes to the scheduling. But no, we listen. We want the best programs in the country, and we appreciate these guys saying yes to coming to Arlington.
And then also with Dave, I was wondering, last year there was a lot made of Arkansas playing Oregon State. But this year y'all are playing Kansas State and TCU. You've got guys that were on the teams the last couple of years. Just do you sense on your team that there's any level of revenge, or is there any extra excitement getting another crack at those guys?
Well, I hope our guys are just focused in on trying to beat Washington State on the 14th in that weekend. But no, I'm excited to play those guys. The Big 12 has been really good the last few years and forever. I had the opportunity to coach in that league for 5 years, and to play TCU and Kansas State and Michigan. I'm sure they're just excited, number one, to get to play in a big league park. And, as far as who we're playing, obviously we haven't discussed any of that. So I don't have a feel on that. I think that more than anything that we know that we're going to get to play. And that's probably the most exciting part of it.
Andrew Ellis.
Yeah, Dave, you've got a pretty tough decision to make with your starting rotation, but before you go to Arlington, you get to play 4 games against Washington State. Is that something that kind of all offseason you and your staff have looked at and thought, okay, we can use this weekend to maybe figure some things out, try a different guy out before we really have to make that decision going into Arlington, cut to 3?
Yeah, I mean, we know who we're probably going to throw game 1 and 2 and 3. 4 might be up in the air. But yeah, we wanted to try to get 4 games in before we headed to Arlington. This gives us an opportunity to maybe have another day to prepare or rest a little bit. Not having to play on that Tuesday or Wednesday before we head down. But yeah, I mean, like most of these teams that are in these tournaments, lose 80% of your starting lineup. And, in our case, we lost our entire rotation. And I think, our entire outfield and corner infielders and catchers. So we've replacing a lot of guys, and we're just trying to play games and try to get it all figured out before we open conference play down at Ole Miss.
Stephen Hawkins, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mitch with Rav a couple questions. Mitch, when this thing started, it was one weekend. There was 6 teams. Was it envisioned the whole time to kind of grow it to this thing where it's kind of multiple weekends and you also got midweek games throughout?
Is that for Jared, Stephen?
I'm sorry, Jared. Yes, at Rev. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. Yeah, listen, when we started this, I think the first year we actually booked this tournament was, gosh, it was maybe 2017, 2018 is when we put together the field for 2021. And honestly, as we made phone calls to all the programs across the country, a lot of them just couldn't do weekend 1 at the time. And so kind of as conversations were had with different programs, it became obvious that we needed to add weekend 2 and weekend 3.
As far as the ballpark, having it in a major league stadium, I mean, I know there's several tournaments and some spring training sites, but there are only maybe a couple major league parks that really embrace this. What is it about the Rangers that have made them want to embrace these tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we love college baseball. I mean, that's really the gist of it. We love our partnerships with all these schools, and we're fired up. It's our favorite time of the year.
All right, man. Thanks.
Greg Wilson.
Hey, yeah, I got the same question as someone had earlier, except for the Big Ten coaches. You got the added challenge, Tyler and Tracy, of playing in areas where, it's cold for a lot of the baseball season. How do you keep up these days with some of the Southern conferences, this day and age? And can playing in an event like this kind of help with recruiting when it comes to something like that?
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask Jared to turn down the temperature when we get there. That would help us tremendously. I've had the good fortune of, doing both, kind of preparing indoors or whatever. And yeah, it's challenging as you prepare going into the season, particularly when you're going to be facing a level of competition that all of us are going to be playing initially. But, the thing that we try to instill in our guys is it's still a baseball field. It's still 60 feet 6 inches. The game is still played, the game is played a certain way. So no doubt, I mean, a little unique challenge, but I was listening to the comments of the travel. And I love it. And I appreciate, the one travel weekend. This is just part of a regular cadence for us, on the multiple travel. But back to the overall, originally the overall experience, we're thrilled. Our guys are thrilled about it. We had a chance to play in it last year. Certainly the competition piece is a plus, and it's going to help us. And I think it helps the exposure for our league, the Big Ten Conference in general. And then, just giving our kids that, opportunity to play in an unbelievable stadium in a different part of the country. So again, we don't try to make excuses with it. It's a little bit more challenging, but it is what it is. You just go play baseball. That's it.
Yeah, very similar to what Coach Smith said there. We just embrace it. It's always sunny in 75 if you want it to be, and we're just out there trying to get better. I think, for our staff, most of us have come from the South a little bit up here to Ohio State, so we're used to being outside, but this has been a little bit more individualized for our guys. So I think maybe these guys have gotten a little bit more skill wise than than maybe we've done in the past. So these first couple of weeks before we get into conference play, especially, just looking to try to build some of that team unity together and figure out the team play a little bit more.
Next, we'll go to RL Clark.
Hey, I have a question for Coach Canham. Coach, obviously the front side of your schedule is really backloaded with good competition. How important is it for you guys to get off to a good start, especially with, the schedule being kind of all over the place this year out of a conference?
I think we all really like our schedule top to bottom from start to finish. So yeah, that requires us to be on the road a lot, but if we handle our business throughout the entirety of the year, that means we get to play the really fun games at home in the postseason. So I think it's phenomenal to have such awesome competition early on. But I really like where we're going all year and who's coming to our place. So I don't know. I don't think that I'm going to place any more emphasis on one game more than the next. Each and every game is extremely important, including the off days, how you recover. So, yeah.
We'll go back to Noah Darling.
My question's for Jared. Just when looking at the history of this event, you talked about it already, how it's grown so much and how college baseball is kind of growing alongside it, of course, separately, but they coincide. You look at TV rights. I hear a lot about, you see the complaints about Flow Sports, and they do their best. I don't necessarily dislike their product. I think they do what they can. But when the future of this event, do you see it being streamed by an ESPN? What does that kind of conversation look like at the beginning of the year? And how long are we locked into Flow Sports?
Yeah, listen, where we're at with Flow is right now, our contract with them is through 25. We don't know what our plans are for 26 and beyond. We'll certainly have many conversations, but as you know, the Rangers have launched their own network as well. So all options are on the table, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.